last week was post Rumble, right? So, we already know Brock Lesnar won the men's Royal Rumble. We already know that our girl Ronda Rousey won the women's Royal Rumble. And then they announced the Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber, of course, is supposed to be in Saudi Arabia this year. So we're like, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Yay. But now it's going to be like on a Saturday in the middle of the afternoon. So that's going to be pretty interesting. So as far as what happened, as far as the Raw after the Rumble, so it started off as Adam Pearce. He was like, oh, hey guys, Elimination Chamber, we're doing it. And so we're doing Elimination Chamber for basically the championship, men's championship. I don't think there's doing one for the women, so which is obviously because it's over in Saudi Arabia. So that's obvious answer. But we got Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley would automatically entered into the Elimination Chamber. There was no announcement of, hey, we're doing a contenders match or we're doing like a tournament for those who can compete to be in it. But automatically the guy who won the Rumble and the actual champion is in it. Okay, that was number one. I'm like, all right, what's that about? That doesn't make any sense. That was weird. And so they just announced those two. Lashley was like, yo, put me in, it don't matter, I'm winning. Brock was like, look, I'm going to take it off your hands, and then I'm going to go to the I'm going to WrestleMania, then I'm going to choose Roman, destroy him, destroy Paul Heyman, and I'm going to unify the belts. That's basically what he was saying. So it was like, oh Jesus, they're still talking about unifying the titles, which I don't disagree with. So that was cool with that, but then they like stopped talking after that. Then it switched over to no storyline, just randomly. The next match was Rhea Ripley versus Nikki Ash, and Nikki ASH, whichever one you want to call her. Super short match. Rhea Ripley wins. Riptide. No real after story. No nothing. After the match, they moved over to the Chad Gable, the Alpha Academy versus Arcade Bro little storyline that they got, as far as like a academic, like scholar battle, best of 3 type thing. Randy Orton was nowhere to be found. I don't know if he's sick or he's injured from the Rumble. He wasn't at Raw. So they did like a scooter match. We hear that Chad Gable's like, oh, I'm too good for this. I'm a smart man. We don't need to be worrying about racing on those scooters. But apparently they're supposed to be like running around the arena like 50 times. Weird. So that was going on throughout the whole entire show. Then it panned over to that Alexa Bliss thing. That story with her therapist. I was over it. I've been over it. I don't know what's going on with that. So that was whack. So we're going to skip that because I don't really know what happened. It was literally like, hey, you remember the doll, basically, right? And she was like, oh yeah, Lily. She was like, hey, I got it. The therapist like, hey, what do you think about Lily? And it was like an actual physical doll. And she's like, oh my God. And he was like, no, I just bought that from online from WWE.com. It's like a minor plug. It was like, all right. You're just like, see, so Lily doesn't exist. We all have it kind of situation. She said something weird, and that was the end of that. And I was like, all right, that was boring. So we don't know what's going on with Alexa Bliss. And then it pans over. It's The Miz versus Dom Mysterio. Another solid 5-minute maybe match. It was going okay. Of course, I think Miz was like 3 L's. Like he's been losing like a lot. So this was like his redemption match. He wins by interference, basically, or like a distraction. So Dom was kind of up, and what happened was Miz decided like he tripped over the rope or something and blamed Rey Mysterio for it. and was just like, yeah, it was Ray. And then the ref was like, oh, word, it was Ray? You're out of here. And then so he sent Ray to the back. And then so Dom's like, Dad, how could you? Oh my God. And he's like, bro, I ain't even do anything. Skull crushing finale. Boom, done. And so that was weird. So Miz beats Dom. So we might still be shooting for that Dom versus Ray type argument storyline. Next up we got Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens comes out like a little mini talk show. I think he does still. And so what we were seeing was basically he was stating that he's up to be a contender for the elimination match, elimination chamber. But now this time he has to beat Austin Theory, or Theory beats Owens to be entered into the elimination chamber. Just like everybody else should. It should be elimination chamber contender matches. So, but before that, he was talking to Rollins. Rollins comes out and he's just like, oh, my good boy, man, it's so good. Hopefully you get in, blah, blah, blah. He was like, oh, by the way, I'm in. And so Owens like, what do you mean you're already entered into the chamber? He was like, why you ain't had to fight? Why I got to fight, right? And so he's like, oh, don't worry about it, bro. You don't need to, yeah, you're going to make it, basically. Austin Theory wins. So Kevin Owens is not in the elimination chamber. Austin Theory actually wins the match. So far on the list, then we got Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, and Seth Rollins in the elimination chamber. Then next up, they show like a little back panel again backstage. I think the Viking Raiders was chilling with the Street Profits, and then Chad Gable, Alpha Academy shows up. They were chit chatting for a second, and all of a sudden we get a match with Dawkins against Dolph Ziggler. It was like a solo match. Dawkins from Street Profit actually wins in his own. It was like a hometown win, so I think that's why they did it. Which with WWE recently, they don't care if you're at a hometown. They don't care. You lose, you lose. But Dawkins, as a solo, were they hitting that they about to split them boys up, and they just wanted to see how they looked? I don't know. So that was kind of weird. So Dawkins wins against Dolph Ziggler. Then we get that Veer's coming promo. Veer's never ever appearing on Raw. I don't know if they keep doing it as a joke now or whatever. Veer's not showing up. So that was wild. At this point, I don't even care if Veer ever shows up, dude. That was pretty weird. Then we got it kicks back, I think, from commercial or whatnot. Then we get the race from Alpha Academy versus Arcade Bro. So I guess the last lap they were supposed to do around the ring or something. So they come down the stage entrance, whatever. Our boy Chad Gable trips. So it was basically like Riddle's about to win. So he's about to hit the finish line, and all of a sudden Otis comes out of nowhere and kind of like pounces him like a Keith Lee pounce. Boom! Chucks him off the scooter. Chad Gable wins. So now I think it's tied 1-1 now. Because I think the Arcade Bro won the spelling bee thing. And so they won the athletic portion. So it was 1-1 or 1 up. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I think the next one is like a quiz bowl. I think that's like supposed to finish it. So I just want it over with, because this is almost as worse as Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders, and like that weird whatever you can do I can do better thing. And they were like playing basketball and bowling and stuff. That was weird. Nobody wants to hear that. But after the race situation, Adam Pearce shows up again and was just like, you know what? Riddle versus Riddle versus Otis for the Elimination Chamber. I don't even know what Otis did to even be a contender. Like, I don't neither. Rather, Riddle wins. So Riddle's in. So now we got Riddle's added to the list of Riddle, Lashley, Lesnar, Theory, Rollins. So I'm like, all right, cool. So Riddle's up now for a world title. Then next match after that was Carmela versus Bianca. You know the vibes on that. KOD, she's out. Carmela loses. That was a simple match. It wasn't really nothing crazy in that one. But all of a sudden we see that it's up next is Styles versus Mysterio for a contender in the slot for the Elimination Chamber. No announcements. Two of the greatest like on your roster have an up and coming contender match, and nobody knows anything about it. It wasn't no promotion, no nothing. Styles versus Rey Mysterio, bro. Nothing. Oh, dude, that scared the crap out of me. I would say just watch it. Pretty solid match, dude. Just GOAT versus GOAT. Styles wins, of course. So Styles is in the list now of the contenders. Then of course, our winner for the Women's Royal Rumble, Ronda Rousey shows up. Ronda Rousey shows up and she's all like, you know the vibes. I'm here. I won. I'm here to talk to, you know, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch shows up and like, yo, you know, you don't want no smoke. Like, this not what you want type situation. And she's just like, yo, like, I owe you one. Like, because Becky was like, I've been undefeated for my title since I basically beat you and Charlotte Flair at our WrestleMania main event, like 2 years back or something like that. So everybody's like, ooh. So you can kind of tell like it wasn't going to happen because I'm trying to turn it down just a wee bit here. Ronda Rousey was like, you know what? I'll let you know my answer to the selection of who I choose, rather you or Charlotte Flair, when I come back Friday. Like when I go visit Flair Friday. She was just like, you don't want no smoke type situation. And so, oh, interesting. So yeah, it was just like, it's like, oh, bro, we want Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. We don't want to see Rousey versus Flair. Nobody wants to see that. So everybody's like, oh man. But as soon as Ronda leaves, Lita pops up. Lita, like our old school Attitude Era legend, shows up and was just like, hey, since you don't have a contender, how about me and you, Becky, at the Elimination Chamber in Saudi for your title? Becky's like, bet. So now we got a legend versus legend, like legend of her era versus the new era kind of situation. Not really a contenders match, it's an actual match. So I don't know how all of a sudden Lita can just pop up and just request the actual championship match, but she did it and she got it. So that's going to actually be happening in Saudi Arabia. That was basically it for Raw. Pretty solid. I mean, it was 3 hours, but so much going on. SmackDown. What I got? Of course, we start off with the GOATs, Usos, Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman comes out. They talking smack. Heyman was like, look, man, I got a GOAT on Raw now. I got a GOAT on SmackDown. I'm trying to, you know, be the middleman of peace and have two GOATs, basically type situation. But it's good to be back with Roman and all this other stuff. And Roman's like, you know, I'll run the show, blah, 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 blah. And Heyman kind of shoots at it as in like, there's not going to be a title for title match at like the WrestleMania. Like the way this is going, fam, we not trying to do that. So everybody's like, oh nah, bro, we want a unification match. And then Goldberg shows up. William Goldberg shows up. And it was just like, you're next, bro. And it's just like, what do you mean you're next? Like, who are you, fam? Go home. So it's that Saudi Arabia money. It's that quick bag. And all of a sudden, he's up for a championship contending match at the Elimination Chamber. That's stupid. Then we get Ricochet versus Rich Holland as like the next match. Apparently it looks like it wasn't too long. That was a squash match. Ricochet beats Rich Holland, but that kind of makes Sheamus kind of mad. And then so Sheamus kind of like interferes a little bit after the match, and then it becomes a tag match between Ricochet and Cesaro. They tag together to fight against Rich Holland and Sheamus. Sheamus and Rich Holland wins. It wasn't too crazy. men slapping men type situation. So they look like they might be a storyline with that incoming. Then we get Eric from the Viking Raiders versus Jay or Jimmy, whichever one. Just a regular solo match, just 1v1 for no apparent reason, no storyline. It's just basically kind of like the tease because the Viking Raiders face the Usos at Elimination Chamber next week. But it's just like, just build up on that. It was Jimmy. It was just like, that was just a waste of time for us. Like, but it hit him with a splash. And then it was like, all right, cool. Eric loses, of course. Then we get Natalya versus Aaliyah. And this is like the third or fourth week in a row that we get a Natalya versus Aaliyah match. And there's no clear winner. It's either like a weird roll up, or this time it was a DQ, like a count out. And so Aaliyah wins and like a count out. I'm over it. Okay. Let's see. Then Drew Gulak and Shotzi are talking in the background. And then Drew McIntyre kind of comes up and tries to talk about his hatred against what's our boy, Baron Corbin, or Happy Corbin, and Madcap Moss. And it's like, I want smoke. I'm sick of that feud. It's been going on for like the last year and a half, dude. Get over it. I'm done with it. But Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia, it's going to be Drew McIntyre versus Moss. Okay. And then there's a Intercontinental Contender match against Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jinder Mahal. So your champion is in a contender match against the contender. So if Jinder wins, they didn't state. So if Jinder would have won, does that mean he wins the belt or he wins a number one contender opportunity? They didn't state it, and it didn't matter. Shinsuke won, but it was very weird. That was okay. I don't know what they're doing with the Intercontinental belt or Shinsuke, but that was a waste of time and space. Then up next we get Big E is back on SmackDown. We don't know if it's for good or not, but Big E is back with Kofi Kingston now that our boy Xavier Woods is out for an injury. So he is either replacing time for Woods, or they are moving him back to moving him back to SmackDown because his solo run is dead. And hopefully we don't see that. Hopefully it's just like a small little thing. He's just back just, to fill up the space for New Day. And he goes back to a solo run again. And we hope that he can get another opportunity for the belt. Because as of now, it looks like his run is dead. And they are moving him back to a group gimmick. And that sucks. But they fought the Lotharios. Garza and wow, I can't think of his name. Wow, Los Lotharios. We'll just call it that. But that wasn't a bad match. A couple interferences or like distractions. But Big E and Kofi win. Midnight Express them. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Solid. But then Charlotte shoots on Rhonda. That was like the last part. I don't know why they didn't do like openers or like mid. But that was like this is like the conclusion of SmackDown. It was pretty meh. So Charlotte comes out saying how, her belt is more prestigious and Rhonda wants her, but she don't want the smoke because I beat her. And Rhonda comes out and is just like, nah, bro, I want the smoke. But for some reason, Sonya Deville comes out and like, I'm protecting you from Ronda Rousey type situation. And it's just like, okay, why are you here? Normally, like if you have like one of those, hey, like talking segments to like, who's going to WrestleMania, be a mediator, like just be in the middle, have like chairs or something and like talk about or something. It was just like, why are you protecting? Like you had no reason to be there basically. So it was just one of those situations where it was unnecessary. So instead of aggro basically being hit on Charlotte, our girl Sonya Deville took like an arm bar and everything It was just like, okay. So come to find out, this whole time is basically just set up for Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. It's booked and confirmed. So it's just like, oh, okay. But in the meantime, I forgot, Naomi showed up a little bit earlier. Was just like, I think she wanted smoke again with DeVille, but she was just like, nah, I got on my coat, you know, I'm in business mode, but you can fight against Charlotte again next week for a title. So it's like Naomi is getting another title shot opportunity, and it's just like, all right, but we kind of know that she's not going to win because it's Charlotte Flair and Rousey booked for WrestleMania. So now it's just like, oh, bro, now you just burying her now. Jesus Christ. That was basically it for SmackDown, and I'm like, all right, cool. Overall, there's been discussions on like why, like, it's always been like this for like a while. They don't have solid like go-to guys or like up and comers that they can depend on in WWE. They keep going back to like their go-tos. Like at one point before it was Goldberg, it was Undertaker. Undertaker will show up and do like these big matches, you know, like the WrestleMania or the Saudi Arabia you know, match or something like that, you know. So it's just like we keep getting Goldberg now because there's nobody else. They don't have anybody else set up to take like those big like spots. Like, hey, you know, we can do a match this big here. They don't have anybody. They just have like their solid 4 or 5 like main guys, and then like a legend or two. So that's why this is happening. Congrats Goldberg, but it's just like, we're tired of you, bro. You've been here since like WrestleMania like 33. You popped up and you lost. You lost against Strowman. You lost against Lashley. You lost against Brock. You lost against Roman. And it's just like, bro, you keep popping back up and you're losing, but you get in the bag. You get in the bag. Correct. But it's like, bro, just stop. Just stop. So, the only argument that I've been hearing is like, bro, it's Saudi Arabia. They paying the WWE almost like $1 billion to basically have dream matches overseas because they never had the opportunity to see like the legends or like Lita or Goldberg or you know, Roman Reigns and stuff like that over there as much as we see them over here. So it's basically like, here's money, book it, make it happen, we'll see you next week type situation. So we know that Goldberg is kind of like the go-to guy, and wow, that's not loud at all. It's those situations where it's like, it's not you know, he's a good go-to person. Like, he'll answer the phone, follow through, follow the plans, play his role. So I'm like, all right, cool, good for Goldberg, but I'm sick of you dudes. Like, stop showing up. So we know he's gonna lose. And then what's gonna happen after that? Like, what's next for Roman until WrestleMania? It's like, literally, it doesn't sound like anything. So that's the end for WWE. Let's get through some AEW stuff real quick, and then I think we should be done as far as like a catch up. As for now, we got AEW Dynamite. As you know, we were supposed to start off with a Brian Kendrick versus Jon Moxley match for that Wednesday, and everybody was hyped for that because we just got information that Brian Kendrick asked for his release for WWE NXT, and they honored it. They gave it to him. So we were like, oh snap, and come to find out the AEW scooped up Brian Kendrick and signed him like immediately and put him in the match. So we were waiting on that, but then everybody's like, you know, your boy is a racist, right? Maybe not a racist, but he had some very racist tier remarks or comments towards certain things. We're not going to get into the discussion of like what the internet and Twitter will find that in like 5 seconds. So that was wild. So Khan was like, you know what, let's sit you out for a minute until we figure out exactly what's happening with you, Mr. Kendrick. We'll bring in what's his name, Wheeler Yuka. I have no idea who this gentleman is. Moxley smashed him in like 5 minutes or so. But then we discovered that Danhausen, who was just recently signed last week or the week before, is cool with Orange Cassidy. and the best friends. So now it's like a group of like weirdos now. So we got a guy who drives around in his mom's van, a best friend who's cool with the guy who drives in his mom's van, a guy who doesn't talk basically as much as he's a normal person does, but he's over. Orange Cassidy is like the most over ever. But now Danhausen, this weird character that I'm only seeing on little bits and pieces of like YouTube content, is with the best friends. That was basically it on that part. He also tried to, if you seen the Adam Cole match, the lights out match against Adam Cole versus Orange Cassidy the previous week. At the end of it, that's how we got introduced into Danhausen. He comes from under the ring, and tries to curse Adam Cole. He tries to do the same thing to Moxley, but it didn't work. Because in the previous instance, in the lights out or the dark match, that's what they call it basically, where like your record isn't on the line, because Adam Cole lost technically. Oh man, I lost my point. Yeah, Danhausen cursed him, but it didn't work or anything. Moxley destroyed him. He beat Yuka, and he won. But like I said, yeah, it looks like it might be a little stable of like the best friends and Danhausen all together now. And then Brandy Rhodes comes out. She talks for a little bit, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he is one of the managers there. He was talking to Brandy Rhodes. Some young lady came out and attacked her. It was a small segment that I didn't even really pay attention to. I wrote it down. I was like, something Brandy Rhodes. You know how we all feel about the Rhodes. So after that, we got Pac. Pac and I don't think it was Penta. It might have been Penta, because they have a faction called the oh my god, wow, something triangle. But basically, they came out and they faced. Maybe I should just look at my notes again. The House of Black. So it was one of the Lucha Brothers. Let's put it that way, and Pac, because they have like a triple dark. Was it dark triangle? Something like that. Group versus basically the House of Black. So as we know, the last time that we seen Pac, he was blinded from the black mist from Malachi Black, and so Pac came out, bandaged up everything, and he was out there cleaning the house. Like, bro, I literally wrote down like blindfolded Pac is a goat, and it's just like, oh snap, you're like physically like wrapped up, and he was still out there bodying it in the ring. And come to find out, he was cured. Like he can see again. Like he took the bandages off and everything, and he was fine. I was like, oh, okay. So, but House of Black still wins. There was a mid distraction with Brody King. I almost said Lee. With Brody King, he comes out and tries to distract Pac, and Malachi comes and he shoots the mist, but instead of hitting Pac again with the mist, he hits the, I want to say it's Penta, with the mist, and blinds Penta, and then he hits him with the finisher. I forgot what they called it. Oh man, it's a sick finisher that they have, and that's how they get their win in. And then we get a quick backstage preview promo from Adam Cole, and he was stating how he is still undefeated. He's 6-0. The dark match against him and Orange Cassidy technically did not count, even though he lost, so he should be 6-1, but it doesn't count against their record, so he's 6-0. He's undefeated, and he said he's gonna go for the AEW championship against Hangman Adam Page. So I'm like, oh snap. But then up next we get Ruby Soho versus Nyla Rose. I almost said Ruby Rose, but I think that's somebody. I'm not even gonna talk about it. Yeah, so we got Ruby Soho versus Nyla Rose. And this time Nyla Rose actually wins. So she's been taking a couple L's, like when she did get her appearances on TV. So she needed that win, and she got it against a big name. So that was pretty fire. So Nyla Rose might be coming back. This might be her resurgence, getting her name back into, you know, the ranks. Powerhouse. And then it shoots backstage again. It was like outside the gun club or the booty club. I'm not gonna say the A word because we try to keep it a little PG over here because we might have people actually watching our nice podcast here. Of the Guns, basically, Billy Gunn and his two sons, they were jumping the Jurassic Express like outside. So I think that might be leading up into a championship match, tag team match against the Gun Club versus Jurassic Express. So not Luchasaurus, but Jungle Boy was out there getting stomped. So that was pretty hilarious. And then we get another backstage promo. We got Chris Jericho. You know, he's having situations with his inner circle. So, you know, of course, we got Sammy Guevara's doing his little thing. We have, I almost said his name, but he changed his name a little bit when he came over from WWE to here. But basically, the inner circle is like a group of like 6 people. They're all having a little dissension inside of the group now, and everybody's splitting because Eddie Kingston is kind of pointing out some of the flaws with Jericho. And so basically next week, Jericho says that he's going to have a talk, or this week rather, he's going to have a talk with the group, basically, I guess, in the ring. I guess he couldn't talk to them then. He wants to talk to them in a week or so in the ring in front of people, to discuss, you know, how can we make the group better and, you know, let's fix some things. But I think this might be the ending to the inner circle, slowly but surely, because once Eddie Kingston gets in, I think he's gonna split up Santana and his I'm forgetting names, dude. Ortiz and Santana. I think they're gonna split up from the inner circle. So that's gonna be pretty dope if they split up. Everybody's doing their factions. And then we might get a heel Jericho again. So it might be a heel Jericho versus Eddie Kingston. And you know, Eddie Kingston does pretty good. As you seen the last match that we saw, a big match where Eddie Kingston was against CM Punk, and at that last pay-per-view, MJF versus Punk. It was like a 40-minute match, dude. That match was crazy, and it kind of, so I think that was supposed to be like the main event, and it kind of started off, it was like a weird distraction. MJF kind of won, and it was just like, what, dude? This is in Chicago. It was like a real quick win, and it was just like, hold up. And so they was like, let's redo this again. I guess they did like a Tony Khan might have came out or something. Can't recall, dude. It's been like a week. And it was like, yo, run it back. Y'all want to see a real match? Let's go. They did it again. A 40-minute match, dude. They went crazy out there. But CM Punk loses, like clean this time. Even though he got a diamond ring to the face. Like it was like that Wrestler of the Year, I think that's what they call it. It was like something like ring that they have, and he wins. MJF wins it like the last 3 years in a row. It was like a diamond ring that he got for Wardlow. There we go. And basically hit CM Punk in the head. Clean 1, 2, 3. So now officially MJF beat CM Punk and gave CM Punk his first loss in Chicago. Like, how heel can you get, dude? That's crazy. But yeah, definitely watch that if you can. That's almost as fire as that Sammy Guevara versus Cody Rhodes match. It was crazy. Because who else did almost an hour match? It was it Page versus Bryanson? Daniel Bryan? Or Bryan Danielson, D-Bry, whatever. I think they did like almost an hour match. I think that was like almost 50 minutes. So then our last portion here is going to be Rampage. I haven't watched NXT. I'm not even gonna keep up with NXT. That's not my thing anymore. Now that they kind of switched over on everything, I'm over NXT. But with Rampage, so Tony Khan starts off, and I remember because he even tweeted about it. He was like, "Yo, big announcement. I'm signing somebody. You guys are gonna see them. It's opening a forbidden door. It's gonna be crazy. Wait for it tonight." So then that night happens. Tony Khan comes out and is like, you guys got to wait till Wednesday. So his announcement was an announcement to tell us that there's an announcement for another day. So we don't know who it could be. But it's apparently a hot free agent in basically quote unquote forbidden door. So I think that's Rampage is Fridays. So we'll have to wait till maybe Friday. No, I think he actually said he's going to do it Wednesday. So come Wednesday, he'll make an announcement of who the signed agent is, signed free agent is. But then we get the match of Adam Cole versus Evil Uno. Adam Cole, of course, still undefeated, goes after Evil Uno, wins the match, does like this sick promo, lets you know that, hey bro, I'm still undefeated. I'm that guy. I'm 7-0 now. I am going for you, Adam, Hangman Adam Page. I'm going for your neck. I'm next up. I don't care about no Murder Hawk. I don't care about no John Moxley. I'm next up. And I was like, yo, let's go. So we got Jade Cargill. She pops up, shoots a promo, let him know that I think this upcoming week she's going to be going again for another match for the TBS Championship. I think she's putting it on the line again. And also, I guess this is like her 27 week win streak or something like that. Like she's still undefeated. So she bragged about that. Jade Cargill still fine. We should do a counter for that. Like she don't miss. So that was just a promo basically stating like she finna squash somebody again. You think it might be Keith Lee? It could be Keith Lee. It could be Jeff Hardy. It could be Mustafa Ali if they granted the release and didn't say anything out loud. It could be Shane McMahon. McMahon is a free agent now technically since they released him right after the Rumble. So we don't know. Nobody knows. So it could be anybody. Maybe that's why he pushed it off, because it could be somebody he got the opportunity to make it bigger than what he thought it was. So we don't know. We don't know, and I can't wait. Hopefully it's somebody that everybody's excited for rather than just like see, look, Karrion Kross isn't bad, dude. He played his part. It was, I think they made the man a monster in NXT. He played his role in NXT, destroyed everybody in NXT quickly, got his belt, and just called it a day. I understand. Yeah, he doesn't, in ring wise, he's more one of those, yo, I'm in, I'm out type wrestlers. So you keep him in there longer than what it is. Just like, oh man, dude, you're boring. So I get it. But Karrion Kross is cool, in my opinion. If he does what he's supposed to, in and out, like get in, crazy muscle man, suicida suplexes, hit him with the choke, call it a day. Made man. Let me see. Sammy Guevara comes out and he wore both belts, the interim TNT champion and his that he won. He goes in against Isaiah from Private Party, Matt Hardy's mentees. So it was basically a title match. As we know, Guevara is still injured from the ladder match, but decent match. There was some interference. Hardy jumped in there too, did some interferences, tried to injure Guevara worse than what he was. Guevara still retains, but I think afterwards, like they tried to jump him again or something. But then we get Darby Allin, out of all people, shows up and kind of assists in helping Sammy Guevara. And he kind of looks at the belt like, yeah, I want that. So I think, was it after Cody, I think Darby Allin was the TNT champion. So, and then I think after that it was I can't think of his name in AEW. Oh, Miro. So it's just like, okay. So, but anywho, we might be teasing a Guevara versus Darby Allin TNT match, championship match. So that looks dope. QT Marshall says that he has rap beef, of course, with Hook. If you don't know Hook Hook is Taz ECW, our commentator son. Hook is like so over in AEW. But QT Marshall says, hey, look, I know we got beef, but I got somebody for you. But he said it's an unknown wrestler that nobody knows about. And I think he's going to put that wrestler up against Hook this week. So I think not only are we getting a signed free agent, we might be getting a double signing or a just random one-off appearance maybe against somebody with Hook. But it's kind of like one of those situations where, do you want somebody to be super over and beat Hook, who's over in AEW? Or you just want somebody that's like, okay, cool, welcome to AEW. Hopefully you do okay after you take this loss with Hook type situation. So we got to see who that is. Then we get Thunder Rosa versus Mercedes Martinez. It was an okay match. And then it ended in a DQ. Mercedes Martinez attacked Thunder Rosa like in the head with like a steel pipe. Come to find out, after the match, after the DQ, and they did like a talking over like what happened, you know, Martinez, she was like, I was just doing what I was supposed to do. Britt Baker was behind the whole thing. Britt Baker does not want to face Thunder Rosa and lose her championship. Come to find out that she basically had like a hit out on Thunder Rosa. Martinez was just like, yeah, you told me I could do what I want as long as I take her out. She was like, no, dude, I didn't want you to kill her. Just take her out. And she was like, you didn't explain how to say take her out, bro. So I did what I needed to do. So now it's bigger heat on Britt Baker because now she's doing dirty work. She's doing like, you know, just like Ambrose here, doing dirty deeds to get, you know, everybody away from her championship. So I'm like, yo, okay, Britt Baker, goated. Let's see. Then the last match was Ricky Starks versus Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal, former TNA Impact wrestler who was recently signed not too long ago for the FTW championship. I didn't even think that was like anything they can contend against. That was a solid match, dude. I don't really know too much about Ricky Starks too much, but the very good match. Hobbs, I know about him a little bit, as a bulkier black gentleman. He kind of interfered a bit, but definitely if you're not gonna watch the full match of that, watch the ending. Jay Lethal went for like a finisher. He did like a springboard off of like a springboard flip from off of the ropes, and Ricky Starks countered it into like this nasty, it wasn't like a falcon arrow, I don't know what it was, and retained, but it was like a sick counter to his finish. And that was basically it, dude. So the road leading up to Revolution, AEW wise, looks way more interesting than this filler Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia next week. So March looks way more hyper than like a week and a half from now, because it's just like we get the same 5 handful of like people for WWE. We're not building. Like Austin Theory is kind of getting built, but only so far. Same thing, like Sheamus, you're throwing him in a tag person, like in a tag team. Cesaro should have been built up way bigger. He had an opportunity and he lost it, I think, against Roman. And it's just like right after he lost to Roman, he got thrown down the card. They're not building anybody else to take the mantle, like the responsibility of being the big guy when it needs to be, rather than just giving it to like the same 4 or 5 people and like relying on legends. Like, okay, like we discussed it, Goldberg's cool, and I think he's taking the mantle of what the Undertaker would have done, but it's just like, it's the Undertaker though. Everybody liked the Undertaker. It's at certain points so we don't like Goldberg, because what did he really do to be like, I'm solidified out here in these streets, I can demand a title shot anytime? And it's just like, bro, it's not like that with anymore. It's not WCW. So it's one of those things. But it's good to know that, you know, he's like but that's what was it? There's a podcast I listened to. They were saying, I think this is his redemption from the last match, because he did horrible against was it DX? It was DX versus no, it wasn't DX. Okay, no, it was No, it was just him versus Undertaker over in Saudi, and he did horrible. So I think he's trying to redeem himself from that horrible match so he can go out strong. Like, all right, I redeemed myself. I fixed my wrong. Now I can buy out gracefully type situation. So he's doing, Vince's favors, which is cool and all, but you ain't got to answer the phone every time, my boy. But, that's their go-to because, Cena's not going overseas. And that's the thing. It's Saudi Arabia, and, they got their problems over there. So we could have got maybe some bigger people. But because of the conflicts, ain't nobody going over there. So only a handful now from a bigger pool is now smaller. And now it's like, okay, I guess. Come on, bro. So we'll get this and it'll be a squash. Your boy gonna get a check. Goldberg gonna get his little check from Saudi and call it a day and go back home. But yeah, man, I think that is it. I know now it should be like hour 1 into wrestling. As far as the reset goes, we are now like almost 1 hour into Monday Night Raw. My hours conflict. I see what you mean, but it's not really supposed to be like this long. I don't think so. It's still episode 2. We'll move it. We'll try to shoot for 7. I think that's what we did last week anyway. Shoot for 7. Go from 7 to like 8. I'll let everybody else be free so they can actually watch it if they're interested. So, but yeah, man, that is it. Overall, AEW seemed like the better outcome. Of course, it's always because WWE does not. They don't have any storylines. And if they have storylines, it's horrible storylines. It just repeats, and it's boring. Excuse me. So AEW's doing some things. Hopefully this Wednesday we get a dope signee that everybody would like to turn and watch, AEW for. And I can't wait for this Adam Cole storyline, especially since he's undefeated. He's gonna go for Adam Page. So that should be a sick fight for, I think it's Revolution. And then Moxley's on the loose too. So, speaking of, no. So after the Moxley match, since they had to call an audible because Brian Kendrick didn't show up, or couldn't show up rather, Daniel Bryan comes out and he's like, y'all want to see a match against Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson versus Moxley? I would have loved to see that. Everybody was hyped. He was like, no, we're not doing that. Rather, how about me and Mox come together and start getting some of the younger talent and kind of put them under their wing, kind of like mentor them. And it was just like, do you know how crazy that'd be? You have Moxley and Bryanson, or Daniel Bryan, you know what I'm talking about, together mentoring the younger AEW talent. And that would be crazy, but it could just be like one of those situations where I softened you up, Moxley, and you think we're cool. I'm gonna turn on you, and then we go to Revolution as a pay-per-view match. So it could just be like a long con turn. So either way, I'm all for it. I totally forgot about that. I don't even know why I didn't. I'm pretty sure I wrote it down. I just overlooked it. But chat, I'm over this. Not really. I'm not over it, but I don't have any more else to talk about. We talked about both brands. I don't think I'm gonna do NXT unless it's like one of the. I don't even think it's like a takeover or like one of their special matches. I think like next week, Vengeance or something like that. But other than that, yeah, me and NXT are parting ways. So we'll just do AEW and we'll do WWE. I might need to check into TNA or Impact. I think they just call it Impact now. I'll check into Impact because they're doing pretty good too. Because I think they are rebranding like the Bullet Club, and there's a couple good people over there now that are doing pretty well. But yo, chat, I do appreciate y'all stopping by. This is episode 2. I will definitely upload this onto YouTube as soon as I but edit some of the gaps, like the beginning intros. I'm gonna just stop talking because now this is into the video. Y'all stay safe out here, of course. We'll catch y'all next week at a earlier time, hopefully. get us a good recap, and maybe we can actually go on Discord and watch the actual show live and talk about it. But definitely let's be on the lookout for Wednesday. We'll check in the Discord and we'll talk about it and see what AEW has in store for us, because if anything, bro, this might be a big announcement, because Tony Khan act like it was supposed to be a big announcement. So we look forward to that. Chat, I will see you guys on the flip side. I do thank you guys for stopping by. This is episode 2 of the Royal Ramble, my boys, and we are out. Peace.